Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Self-Development Podcast. So, this episode may be a bit of a hot take or just me going on a rant, but recently something has been coming up for me, and I really just wanted to touch on it and talk about it because I think it's actually really important for this to be brought to light and talked about because it's just something that I feel gets so swept under the rug and can have a really negative effect on actually how we view ourselves and how worthy we truly are to be authentic and do what we know or feel deep inside is actually best for us. So, I don't really know what to call this because I originally found it centered around elders. However, after brainstorming my thoughts of what I wanted to talk about, I realized it's more than just that it's not just the respect your elders. It has to do with everyone, but it does especially have to do with the older generations. I don't know who is in what generation. I don't even know what generation I am, but I'm just going to dive in. So bear with me. I think you might get a lot out of this because I don't know that this is something that is really talked about, but I honestly feel quite passionate about it. So first of all, I want to start by saying that what I am about to talk about, I do not mean that in any way you should ever be rude or disrespectful to any person, but more specifically older generations. I don't think we ever need to be rude or disrespectful in order to honor our boundaries and respect who we are as people and making decisions of what is actually best for us and what we actually want to do in our lives. But I also think it's important for us to create awareness around the fact that it is an absolute limiting belief that the generations that came before us just knew what was best. That they just knew how it should be and that they did everything the best way it could possibly be done, and that we are being disrespectful by choosing to do things differently. And I see this a lot. I see it a lot. And it can come from one generation above you to, our grandparents, great-grandparents' generations that lived long ago. And I don't think our generation, my generation, the younger generations are still gonna get it perfectly right. I think the whole entire point of us coming to this planet and having this human experience is to learn, grow, expand, and we need to be constantly shifting and changing as a society, as a person, individually, collectively. We all have to shift and change, or else everything would be so stagnant and just nothing would ever get done. We would be in such a terrible place if things stayed the same forever. And it's important that we learn to embrace change and innovation and understand that there is a reason why we have these ideas as the younger generations to do things differently, to try things differently. I think there's a lot of people that were born into this time who have these gifts of being visionaries and being able to see in which ways we could actually really improve things in this world. Because as a complete and total overview, taking a step back, having an outsider perspective, bird's eye view of the situation of just in general what's going on in this world, it's not going well. At all. There are so many issues. And so I don't think that we just need to sit back and listen to what our parents, tell us that we need to do or how they think it should be, or our grandparents or great-grandparents. I think that we need to sometimes maybe take some space away from the people that are so influential in our lives so that we can really center ourselves in who we are and what we want to believe and what we want to create and what we want to call in our life, and then learn to make decisions from that place. Because there's just so much going on that could 1,000,000% be improved in so many different ways, that I think we're doing not only ourselves but the entire world and the future generations a huge disservice if we're just like, yeah, okay, I'll respect my elders and what they think and what they believe and how they were raised and just do things that way. And if you look back through history, like every decade is even drastically different from the last. So that's never going to happen. We're never going to live in the same way as our parents and our grandparents and anybody that came before us. We're not meant to. Again, everything would be so stagnant and we would get nothing done, nothing accomplished, nothing would change, nobody would grow. We would just all be doing everything the exact same, and that we don't want to be the same. We don't want there to be some specific box that we're supposed to fit in, and that's the issue, part of the issue of what's actually going on behind the scenes in this world with everything. There's a lot of society that has been so conditioned to believe that we need to fit in this box. It needs to be done a certain way and in a certain timeline, in a certain time frame, and everybody should want to do these same things to get married, go to school, get married, have children, have a family, and then whatever it is that we've been told we want. I don't know that that's exactly how it's supposed to be, and I don't know that is what we all need to do. It's not. If that's exactly what you want to do, then absolutely go for it. If your heart and your soul is giving a hell yes to that life and that's what happens for you, that's awesome. But I don't think that out of all the people on this planet, every single person should be wanting or having that exact same experience. I just don't ever see that being realistic. So, again, this does not ever give us an excuse to be rude or unkind to another human. You can still be respectful of other people's choices and beliefs without taking them on yourself and allowing these limiting beliefs to be in the driver's seat of your reality, because so many beliefs we hold within our subconscious mind, which was formed when we were young children. So a lot of the times people who are highly influential in our lives, such as family as well as like teachers in our younger years, things that they tell us we should believe or that we should do in our lives, they can get so ingrained in our subconscious mind that we're not even aware these beliefs are there, and yet they are completely dictating everything that happens in our life. They're in the driver's seat and they're making decisions behind the scenes that we might not even understand why we think or act in certain ways, and it all comes back to these subconscious beliefs that we have. So I think it's time that we take a step back and crack it open and look inside and see what's actually in there and how many of these beliefs are actually limiting you and holding you back from probably some of the best experiences you may ever have in your life. So here are some things that I really want you to just start to think about so that you can help yourself to create more space for you to grow into, to be a more abundant, aligned, and expansive version of yourself. For one, just because something was done a certain way before you doesn't mean that's the best possible way for it to be done. If the generations before us did everything so damn well, we would not be in the current mess that we are in literally all aspects of life. I don't think we have one aspect of life that's absolutely thriving and has no issues right now. Our healthcare system is a goddamn mess, okay? Our education system is a literal joke. All these aspects, I only like to really touch on these two specifically, only because I do have education in both of these fields and I have seen it firsthand what the hell is going on. And I just genuinely feel so disappointed and defeated when I see that this is just how it is and we're just laying back and accepting it as awesome. It's not. There's so much that we need to do. And I think that a lot of it is coming, and we do have the ability to make choices for ourselves, such as not necessarily going just to the Western doctor for any of these problems. There's so many more people out there that are educating themselves in ancient medicine and herbalism and being more in tune with energy healing and things like that might have a completely better or different effect for your healing journey than just going to the doctor. Same as education. I will not put my kids in public school, never. And I think homeschooling is starting to become more normalized and a better option for a lot of people. And I think it's awesome because you're not sending your kid into this space where they're being taught all these things that personally I don't see being very helpful in life, or, again, creating these limiting beliefs for them that are just ingrained in them from a young age, is that they have to sit still, be still, they have to wait to, speak, and, it's just, there's so much behind it that's actually, I personally see as evil, and I think really takes away a lot from children and their individuality and their ability to be so in tune with themselves and the world around them. We're taking them out of nature, out of the environments where they thrive by being curious and exploring, and putting them in a gray cement room where they're told to sit still and not move their bodies, and they're having all these behavior issues, and we're like, why? Well, I wonder why. So now this is another side tangent, and I'm not going to go into it anymore, but just know that just because something was done a certain way doesn't just mean we should just let it happen. We shouldn't. I don't want to stay quiet about topics like this because I don't want to just sit back and watch it happen. And I have the power to make the own decision for me and my future children that I don't want them to be in that environment, and I don't want them to have that life, because I see that there could be a better way to try it. And here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing about trying new things or trying things a new way. Well, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to the way it was. And I think that so many people get so scared and stuck in this place of like, well, I can't try that because what if it doesn't work? You're like, okay, then you wasted a year or whatever that time frame is. And I wouldn't say wasted, because you learned and saw, oh, well, that's why they don't do it that way, because it's not very efficient, or whatever, I have this issue. So rather, from that point, you readapt and try something new. Or you could throw the towel in and say, well, fuck it, I'm going to go back to the way that everyone else is doing it because it seems to be working for them. I don't think it ever will be such a waste of time, energy, money, whatever it is, for you to go and try something new and see it from a different approach, if that could be so beneficial to you in so many ways. But yet so many of us are paralyzed in fear and the what if it doesn't work out, what if I can't do that, what if. And it's so frustrating. I get it. I do that to myself in different aspects, but I really see it a lot in the older people in my parents' generation, who are like, well, that's just how it is. No, it's not. No, it's only that way because you're giving it permission to be that way. Nothing just is. Nothing, that's just the way it is. No, we, allow ourselves to have it a certain way. And yeah, it's that way because you're saying it's that way, but it doesn't have to be that way just because it is. That is not an excuse. Number 2. You are here to be different, to be innovative, and to try things in a new way, to do what is best for you, and there is no box that anybody needs to fit in. That is such a toxic belief. All that you can do is learn to follow your heart, follow your intuition, and walk the path that feels the most aligned with you. And nobody, not a single human on this planet, is going to know what's absolutely best for you but you. And you might not even know that for yourself unless you can take some space, take some time away from other things, other people that influence you, and learn to really trust your intuition and build that relationship with your intuition and your angels and guides, and know what is a soul hell yes and what is a conditioned I should probably do that because everybody else is doing that. Because I think you're going to find a lot more success and joy and fulfillment and purpose in your life if you can separate yourself and actually make those decisions of, I think this would be best for me. I think I find this more interesting. I want to walk down this path. And people might think you're crazy. People might look at you like you have 13 heads. People might try to tell you that you are wrong, that you should not question things, that you should just compliant to everything that is the way it is and that's just what you do. No, fuck them. Bullshit, okay? You can respect their decision to do that for themselves and wave them goodbye, see you later, and walk away, do your own thing, because it's never going to be worth it to let them dictate your life. You're always going to end up feeling like you're missing something. There's going to be such a lack because you're not doing what's best for you. You're not following your heart, your desires, and what you need to do if you're listening to somebody else and what they think is best for you. Because even our parents, I love my parents so dearly, and I feel very blessed that I have good parents, but I know they're like, I'm your parents, I know you so well. Well, yeah, in certain aspects, I would say they do, but probably more than the average person on the street knows me. But also, there is some parts of myself that I think they don't really see, or they don't really understand, or I can't articulate for them to understand because they were raised in a different time. They don't think the way I do. They don't see things the way I do. They can't crawl into my mind and exactly see, feel, and understand how I am feeling in that moment. So yes, based off of my whole life and how I act and react to things, they can make a pretty good judgment of who I am and what I like and what I desire. And they've always been luckily so encouraging for me to do what I want to do. And I know a lot of people were not that blessed with their parents, and that there's a lot of parents out there that just make so many decisions for their children. And I just want you to feel like you have permission to do what's best for you, and that you don't feel like your whole entire life has to be a constant I need to please these people show, so that one day you look back and you're like, fuck, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what's best for me because I spent all this time and energy just trying to fit myself into this mold my parents, made for who they wanted me to be, but that's not actually who I am. Okay, number 3, it's important to do things to continue to shift, grow, and change always. And that is what makes this human experience so special. We get to learn, grow, and shift and up level so that our life continues to get better and better and better. If we just listen to what everyone else said and what people did before us and lived in that way, didn't question anything, and just accepted that that's the way it is, this entire world would be so stagnant, murky, and toxic. Whenever I talk about being stagnant, for me, when I visualize it in my mind to help me really understand like why it's so important to not be stagnant in anything, is water. Because if you think about water in nature, water that's stagnant, not moving, a puddle, it becomes murky, it becomes gross. And if you were out in nature and you were stuck and like you needed to find a source of water to drink so that you could survive, you can't drink a puddle. Maybe in extreme cases it would be fine, but for the most part, that water is toxic and it can actually cause more harm than good to your health. However, if you could find some sort of flowing river or waterfall or source of water that has a natural system where it flows, that water is going to be better to drink. Even like a lake versus a river. You can drink river water for the most part. I spend a lot of time around rivers in BC where the water is like coming straight out the glacier, and it's probably better than any water bottle you can buy in the gas station, but some rivers might be gross. But again, it's in the parts where they're stagnant. In the sections of the river where the water's not really moving, that's not where you'd want to drink it. But in the part where the water's rapidly moving, the water stays so clean and clear because the dust doesn't have time to settle. The particles don't have time to like sit there in the water and then you're drinking all of that. It's just water. So when our energy is constantly moving, when our ideas are constantly exploring and shifting, and we allow things in our life to come and go with ease, we have these extreme breakthroughs and these crazy experiences, and the universe is so kind as to grant us with all these different things because we are so fluid with what we allow to come and go from our lives. And it makes things a lot easier because life is always going in cycles and things are always ebbing and flowing. And if you're going to restrict that energy, if you're going to hold on and create things to be stagnant in your life, then your emotions become murky, feelings become so toxic. You probably attract people in your life that are toxic and all these situations. And it just ends up becoming so not good. So that's why fluidity is so important and such a wonderful aspect of life and this human experience. So just think about water. We want to be in the flow. We want to be part of the wave. We want to be always on the move, always able to move, grow, and adapt and just go with the flow and not just be so absolutely stuck in a certain way, a certain belief, because we're going to create a lot more issues for ourselves. Number 4 is times are changing. Older generations, for the most part, are so stuck in their ways and they want to cling on to what they know, but it's creating so many issues. And again, I see this a lot in people. This comes from our ego. When we let our ego take over and be in the driver's seat, it can be very loud and obnoxious. It can not give you time and space to sit in that present moment stillness where you can easily more connect to your soul and what's actually best for you, because your ego's job is to keep you alive, and we need our ego. Our ego is important or else we wouldn't have one. It is what makes us human and having this human experience. But our ego is always so scared. And if you don't know your ego, understand your ego, and work to have a relationship with it, I think we just accept that that's our mind and that's how we think, but that doesn't have to be. And your ego wants you to stay exactly the same. It wants you to stay where you are right now because it knows you can survive. If you are living right now, you are surviving right now, your ego understands that that's safe, that you can wake up and live another day in that space. So it's going to try and keep you there. And when you want to grow and expand outside of what is known for you, it is so scary, especially to your ego, because your ego doesn't know that when you step outside this box, when you move outside your comfort zone, that you're actually physically going to survive. Sometimes we literally just have to give our ego a reminder, like, I am so safe, I am so protected, I am divinely guided to go here, that this is meant for me and this is going to happen for me. So like, you just got to come along for the ride. And once you get there and you step outside that comfort zone and you're in that space and you realize like, whew, okay, I'm not going to die. Then your ego is used to that and it's going to try to keep you there. And then again, you're going to grow and expand and you have to be like, come on, ego, it's going to be fine. We're protected. We're meant to expand to this next version of ourselves. And then you get there and then your ego's like, whew, okay, I'm not going to die. And it's going to be a battle like this, a fight like this for literally the rest of your life. So I suggest you get to know that now, because there's the generation before us, generations before us, I see this so clearly in them. Like my parents, it's like, that's just how it is. And it's like, okay, or like, okay, I see that's how it is, but it doesn't have to be. And yes, your ego is scared because, again, it doesn't want to die. And especially if you've been living in those beliefs, in that energy, in that space for so long, that like there's no way your ego's letting you step outside your comfort zone. So as a young being, when you have this awareness and you begin to work with your ego at such a young age, it's going to be a lot easier to continue to grow and expand and step outside that comfort zone than if you let your ego drive for 45 years and then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I feel this need to change. Your ego's going to be like, hell no. So keep that in mind. Number 5, it's okay to need space to decide what you want to believe. Our families have such an influence on who we are as people, but we don't have to just accept and decide to be the exact same as them. Sometimes you have to give yourself space from them to decide what is absolutely and truly best for you. I'm not saying you need to disown your family. I'm not saying you need to say, fuck you guys, I'm never talking to you again. I'm just saying, like, maybe you need to move to a different city for a while, that you're not, running into your mother every day and having her overstep a lot of boundaries. Or maybe you need to just go on a trip, or maybe you just need to create strong boundaries of, okay, mom, I'm actually only going to come over for supper once every other week, so that you have some more time and space in between seeing them, especially if there's somebody with a strong personality that's always trying to influence you. Maybe you just need to make that boundary of, hey, I just need some space. Hey, I'm not going to answer your 38 text messages a day. Hey, you don't need to call me 4 times a day, mom. I'm fine. You can talk to me every Sunday or every other Sunday or whatever that is. I don't know. I don't have a set schedule of when I do or don't talk to my parents, and my parents have always been good at giving me space when I need it, for the most part. So I'm thankful for that. But again, I see this a lot, and I see different dynamics between parents and children. And I know there are those helicopter parents that are always wanting to be involved. They're always right there, that are hanging over your head. And sometimes you just need to be like, please, I love you, go away. Okay, I just need some time. I just need some space to make this decision, to decide what is actually best for me, and not what is me thinking what you think is best for me or would be best for you. Number 6 is that these younger generations are actually here to make change. Okay, that's actually a big reason why a lot of the souls that chose to reincarnate right now. We are here for a reason. We are in the age of Aquarius, okay? The energy of Aquarius is all about innovation, technology, transformation, and humanity. So when we have a lot of Aquarius energy, rather like within a person or within the atmosphere, because it's both at the moment, there's a lot of people with Aquarius energy because there's like big planets in Aquarius, being a whole generation's born with this Aquarius energy. And also it's in the atmosphere because these planets, again, are in Aquarius and it has an effect on us. We are here to create change and make a shift in humanity. That's literally the purpose of Aquarius energy. And Aquariuses are also weird and different, okay? They're innovative. They're think outside the box people. They are never going to be the person that follows every fashion trend and does what everybody else does. They're the person that's coming to school with their shirt on backwards and they don't care. Like, that is such an Aquarius thing. But also, they are very innovative in, like, they probably have these crazy ideas of something new that could be, and they have the brains to figure it out and put it together and make it happen. And it's usually rooted in a good place of wanting to better humanity. And I think because we're in this age which hasn't happened, the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was the French and American Revolution. And that was such a huge change for technology and humanity, like crazy. Like, that's when we started being to like grow crops and harvest them big enough to feed large amounts of people. Like, we stopped like personally gardening to like commercial farming, and that was an insane shift in humanity and technology, and how far we've come since then is insane. So imagine this next shift that we're going through, and it's true, it's here, we're in the middle of it. We just are starting to get AI. Okay, that is an extreme shift in innovation and technology for humanity, and it's going to affect humanity in a positive or negative way. I don't know. I would say the French and American revolutions both had positive and negative effects on humanity. I think most things aren't going to be good or bad, but rather have aspects of both, because we live in a world of duality. But these next generations, my generation, I was born in 1999, so I don't know what generation I'm considered, but I have Uranus and Neptune in Aquarius, and now these younger generations have Uranus and Pluto in Aquarius. So a lot of deep transformations for innovation and dreams and transformation. Anyway, this is now another rant. Hi, welcome to my podcast. I like to go on side tangents and rant about things I didn't even really plan on going into. Anyway, so just because these people, souls, are here on Earth right now there is a lot that needs to change and is going to change, and I think we just need to accept and encourage and be a part of the change as much as we can, and just be open to it, because again, the generations before us didn't have it all figured out. I'm not saying they were awful, and I'm not saying they were the best. I'm saying they did the best they could with what they had, and I think that we're just here to shift, hopefully for the better. Again, number 7 is years on earth does not equal wisdom. Okay? I hope and pray that one day everybody will understand this, because life is so complicated and souls are so complex that our little teeny tiny human brains cannot even comprehend the vastness that is God, universe, source, energy, all these things that we are starting to tap into the wisdom of. But to be honest, I don't think our human brains will ever be able to comprehend, because we have such a limit on how far our brains can expand in comparison to how expansive the universe constantly is. And I just think that, as an energy worker and just a human that interacts with other people on a daily basis, I can really see this in people. Of like, some people I like to say or call are brand new, okay? Their souls are just starting out on this journey. They are just here to start learning lessons. And if you are somebody who has an old soul, these people might frustrate the hell out of you, because there is things that you just have always known or understood and never struggled with that they just can't seem to wrap their head around. Like, for one, being kind to other human beings, or just living things in general. I'm like, why would anybody choose to just be such an asshole? But again, these souls are just young. They're just learning. They don't know any different. And just because somebody is, let's just say, 65 in Earth years, and I'm 26, that doesn't mean that that person is more wise than me. Okay? I'm sure there are 65-year-olds that are more wise than me, but I'm sure there's a lot that are not, because I know for a fact that I have a very old soul. I have learned a lot of my life lessons. Why? Through trial and error and experience, okay? I lived the lives, I did the things, I at one point was the asshole, okay? And then I learned that, love is the answer. We're not going to do that. We're not going to treat people like that. And I'm reminded of those things in this life, because if I get put in a situation, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to make this decision because my soul understands that that is the better and easier way to go. But, I'm not saying I think that I am better than or more knowledgeable than. I'm just saying that age on earth cannot compute to wisdom and just knowing the right things, okay? And I think this is a really toxic belief and trait that people have, like, well, I'm 80, I know. No, I don't think so. I just don't think that's how it works, and I don't personally believe that's how it works anyway. And yes, I'm going to listen to what an 80-year-old has to say, because they've lived more they've lived more years on this earth than I have. But what if this is their 5th life and this is my 900th life? Am I going to want to listen to their advice? Like, even sometimes my dad, I love my dad so dearly, and he is a very, very special person to me. But sometimes he says things and I have to just literally bite my tongue. And I'm like, yep. Or sometimes he gives me advice and it's like, I see it as like he feels like he's so wise for sharing this advice, and inside I'm just giggling because I'm like, yes, Dad, I already knew that, like, duh. And, he has a big heart and he means well, and he always just wants to help me if he can. But again, it's like, I just think maybe my soul has had a few more experiences than him, because I see things yet that he can't figure out that I wish I could explain to him. But again, sometimes older generations look at younger generations and think, well, you don't know anything because you're only, 26. Well, some people, older people that I've had conversations with that are actually open-minded and probably have older souls, would look at me and say, holy shit, I wish you knew what I wish I knew what you know at your age. My life would look a lot different. I'm like, wow, thank you. That is actually one of the best compliments I've ever been given from somebody. And it's happened a lot more times than once. So I just think, keep that in mind, okay? If you're an old soul, if you feel you hold all this ancient wisdom, and if you are listening to this podcast, I'm telling you, you are definitely somebody who has an old soul, because I don't think I attract the kind of audience of people who are brand new. I wish I did, because I think I could give them a lot of help, but not necessarily going to be something that they are interested in this lifetime, and that's okay, because they're here to learn at their own pace and their own lessons. And that's fine. But I chose to come here right now to be a teacher, to be a guide, to create awareness and talk about things for people to open up their minds and expand and be open to the change that is coming. So that is the most of my rant. And for me, a lot of this stems from the feelings of being so frustrated about me just doing things, doing whatever, a normal day task, and somebody like my mother freaking out, like, you can't do that, it's gonna offend somebody. I just don't really care. I'm so over this. You can't do that, we're gonna offend. No. If somebody is so offended by you, if something that you're doing is so triggering to somebody else, I want you to know and understand it's never about you. It's always about them, okay? There is some sort of trauma, trigger, jealousy, that something they don't like about themselves that they see in you and you love and accept about yourself, and they hold so much anger and resentment about themselves that they can't have that or don't see that or don't feel that within themselves, that they're going to try so hard to bring you down and make you feel like they do so that they feel better about themselves. And people do this constantly. And a lot of this, again, comes from the subconscious. I don't think that most people sit there and in their own minds are like, how do I get this person to feel like shit all the time? Although I'm sure there are people that do think that way, because we have sociopaths. However, it's a subconscious thing. If you are so insecure and you don't love yourself and you have all these issues and all this trauma that you're not dealing with, your energy is stagnant, there's no growth, there's no movement, you're just stuck in this place and it's toxic, you can't love and accept and cheer other people on for moving and growing and expanding and having these wonderful experiences. You're going to sit there and be so angry and you're going to lash out because you want to hurt them so that they come down to your vibration. And it's awful and it sucks and it happens all the time. And if you don't create an awareness around this, then life can be really difficult. And this is actually a moment in my journey that I just had a light bulb moment of like, bing, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because I was so bullied when I was a kid. I had to switch schools. Girls were so mean to me. I would get cornered in the bathroom. They were constantly doing things, and I got in this mindset for years that like I wasn't pretty enough and I wasn't good enough and blah, 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 because of these outside sources were so insecure about themselves. And I've always been this glowing ball of light to other people. I just hadn't seen it in myself yet. So I never realized why these girls were so mean to me. And then one day I just had this realization of like, oh, that's why they didn't like me. It wasn't because of me. It was because of them. They said all these mean things to me to try to make them feel better about themselves, because whenever they dimmed my light and made me feel small, they felt bigger. And it didn't make them bigger, but for that moment that my light was dimmed, they felt they were glowing the same as me. And it makes a lot of sense, and it happens a lot. So if you are somebody who is a light, if you are somebody who is full of love and here to make a difference and spread your wisdom and spread your light, you have to know this about other people. It's so, so, so beneficial, because it becomes a lot easier to not take things to heart that people say to you or about you, but also realize that, you know, these people are just so hurt that they're trying to hurt you. And it's not necessarily easy, and it can take some practice to realize and remind yourself of this, especially if you're in a situation where something's happening and you're in that emotion and it's so real in that time. But at the end of the day, like, you are just such an amazing little being of love and light. They're just jealous. And instead of realizing that they can be that ball of love and light too, and maybe ask you for your help and advice on how to get there, or learn to do what lights them up so they're that for themselves, they're just going to drag you down because that's easier, or all they know, or all they've been shown how to do by other people in their life as well. So just know, I'm just sick of this. Who cares? We shouldn't be conditioned to believe that we have to always be tiptoeing on eggshells around people out of the fear that a choice we make is going to make somebody uncomfortable. God forbid somebody self-reflects and as to why they feel a certain way. It's really on them, okay? I say let's make people uncomfortable. Let's have the conversations that make people question their beliefs. Let's do things that make people uncomfortable. And I mean, not in like some form of uncomfortability is not necessarily like, if a dude makes a girl feel uncomfortable, not okay. But if you are planting little seeds of intuition and knowledge of being like, hey, what about this? Hey, let's talk about how messed up the government is. You know how many people don't like to talk about that? A lot. But you know how many people need to have these conversations? All of them. Because there's a lot of uncomfortability there, because people want to believe that they had our best interests at heart and they're here to save us and they're here to do all these good things for us. And when they learned that that's not at all the case, it's really uncomfortable. Like, everything in my life is a lie. So yes, let's make people uncomfortable, okay? Because this happens all the time, from day-to-day things, like little things that don't even mean anything. Like, I am a girl who has big boobs, and I've always had big boobs, and for some reason, anytime you can see any part of my boobs, it just always offends people. Like, get over it. I'm so sorry God gave me big boobs, okay? Honestly, if I could have chosen, I would not choose big boobs. They're annoying. My back always hurts. They're always in the way. They're heavy. They hurt. They smack me in the face. I don't like it. I don't love them. I wish I had small boobs, but I'm sure somebody with small boobs wish they had big boobs. But I always get looks. I always get this. My mom constantly tells me this is inappropriate. I can't wear that. That's gross. Whatever. You can't dress like that. You're going to offend some old person if your boobs are out. Well, God forbid. Why are they so offended? Well, they're probably just jealous because in their time they weren't allowed to walk around like that. And it wasn't seen as okay. So they're jealous that now that I've done all this work to be comfortable and feel comfortable in my own body, I'm not letting somebody shame me into thinking that I shouldn't just, if it's hot and I'm wearing a tank top and my boobs are out, get over it. I'm uncomfortably hot. I'm not putting on a turtleneck because you're offended that I have boobs. Hell no. Get over yourself, okay? I don't care how old you are. There's no way that me having a little bit of cleavage should cause you to be so uncomfortable that it ruins your day. And if it does, well, man, you got some serious work to do, okay? We all have work to do. That's part of the human experience. But, let's talk about why it makes you so upset and so uncomfortable, because I bet you we could find the root cause as to where this limiting belief, issue, pain, suffering is coming from. And it's probably because you're jealous that you didn't get to do that when you were young and you wished you could have walked around with your boobs out when it was hot outside. Anyway, again, me going on a side tangent that was not really necessary. I just want you to know that I'm giving you permission. I'm hoping that you feel seen, heard, and understand, to know that you do not have to ever sacrifice something that gives you joy for somebody just because they are so unhealed and it makes them feel uncomfortable. Shine your light. Dance crazy in the middle of the store. Do whatever you want. Have fun. It's life. Okay? Sometimes we take things so seriously. It doesn't need to be that serious. We're meant to have fun. We're meant to make mistakes so that we can learn and grow and expand. We're meant to make ourselves and other people uncomfortable so that we can self-reflect, so that we can grow and push past these points of being stagnant and get into that space of being fluid and able to go with the flow. So this world is so full of unhealed people, and they are just insecure. So remember that, and don't let other people's try to intimidate you into feeling smaller than you are, because you got to shine that light as big and as friggin' bright as you can. That is important. More important than you making yourself small so that somebody else doesn't feel insecure about themselves. Do not ever dim your light or dumb yourself down. Do not do things you don't not do the things that you love just because there are other people or generations that assume that's not the way it should be, that it has to be a certain way. That is such a limiting belief, okay? We need to not think that in our subconscious minds or conscious minds, because it's creating a lot of issues. So if you take anything away from this, just know that you have permission to be you. Do what's best for you and do something different. Don't feel like you have to do it the same as anybody else. This is your life, your path, your decision, your desires, okay? Your heart and your soul gets to be the guide for you, okay? Don't let people influence you into doing things that they want you to do or that they think is best for you, because nobody knows you like you do. That is all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I love each and every one of you so much. Go shine those lights so bright, and I will see you next week. Bye!